something that our education system is keeping on saying it is doing, but what is happening on the ground. I would first like to state that India has a very long history of educational reforms related to outcomes. Some of you may not even believe if I say that Jawaharlal Nehru himself got down one of the topmost educationists of the world of those times, Dr. Benjamin Bloom, to come to India in late 1950s, 59 to be exact. You know, the first book of Benjamin Bloom, Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, was co-authored by a person called Walker Hill. And Walker Hill came down to Kerala and was a head of the examination reforms unit in the University of Calicut. University, I produced a curriculum for the MSc program, which is outcome based. And the point I would like to share is that if you really want outcome based education to work, you cannot be doing something ceremonial like writing a few outcomes on top of a syllabus and then leave it there. But when you write outcomes for educational programs, they have to be specific, they have to be achievable, they have to be measurable. You know, these are some of the criteria for writing outcomes. And today, actually, I wanted to make sure that I took part because you have pinpointed an area in both in use of technology as well as something that our education system is keeping on saying it is doing, but what is happening on the ground. Um, you know, I would first like to state that India has a very long history of educational reforms related to outcomes. Some of you may not even believe if I say that Jawaharlal Nehru himself got down one of the topmost educationists of the world of those times, Dr. Benjamin Bloom, to come to India in late 1950s, 59 to be exact. And then again, in another one more year, he came down again to India. And what did he do? He got a large number of teachers, school teachers, to come and write outcomes for different subjects. And thereafter, he got the university professors to come from mostly North Indian universities, these professors to come and then introduce the idea of outcomes and got them to write down outcomes for selected courses during those days. So can you imagine, we started talking about this in such a uh, early phase of our country. And then to add to it, the first book of Benjamin Bloom, Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, was co-authored by a person called Walker Hill. And Walker Hill came down to Kerala and was a head of the examination reforms unit in the University of Calicut. And he wrote a book on how outcomes and examinations are related. And to cut the story short, I would like to tell you the book that he wrote, sitting in the University of Calicut, the copy of it is not available in the Calicut University Library. Full stop. Now, I would like to say, with my experience, I have experimented with writing outcomes. I don't think in such an audience we need to talk about what is an outcome, etc. Everybody knows. But I would like to say I experimented with it. I took it to my heart. I produced in the Kerala University, I produced a curriculum for the MSc program, which is outcome based. And the point I would like to share is that if you really want outcome based education to work, you cannot be doing something ceremonial like writing a few outcomes on top of a syllabus and then leave it there. I constantly ask teachers in colleges, um, there are a lot of talk about 4-year undergraduate program, this, that, you know, this minor, that major, and all that, and outcome based. So I tell them after all the noise settles down, after the admissions are done, after the students register for courses, what really happens? Well, the same thing that used to happen earlier. You look at the timetable, you go to the class, you teach, you come back. So it's like, the independence struggle. Indian independence struggle was not just to throw out British. Along with that, there was a transformation of the Indian society that was expected by people like Gandhiji. They tried to work on negating untouchability, which was also taken as a target along with independence. So similarly, writing outcomes is not something that can be done for a transformation in education system. The teaching and testing, they have to be transformed accordingly. To my understanding, no such transformation is taking place. I am very happy to be proved wrong. There might be islands of excellence where something is happening. I will be very happy to stand corrected. But when you write outcomes for educational programs, they have to be specific, they have to be achievable, they have to be measurable. These are some of the criteria for writing outcomes. But as I see it, I look at the syllabus written by many universities. On top of the syllabus of a particular course, there are 5 or 6 very ceremonial things written. They are not specific, they are not measurable, and they do not meet the basic requirements of outcomes. But you put a heading on every course and say I have outcomes, then for all practical purpose you can claim to have an outcome based education. But on the ground, really, this doesn't work. So what I want to say in this round table is my own experience. I ask this question: will education become transformed, the testing become transformed? To do that, how should I write outcomes? So I understood that ceremonial outcomes written on top of the whole course does not work. So I produced module outcomes. Inside a syllabus, each module, I wrote outcomes. So not me, actually, my whole team of teachers with me in my department. So for every module, we wrote around 10 outcomes. Some had 12, some had 8, average 12, 10. So that means one paper, one course, which has 5 modules, would have 50 outcomes. Only going to such a detail will make any impact on the educational process. Otherwise, I'm tempted to give an Kerala example. Or those from outside Kerala also would have seen caparisoned elephants. Elephants are they stand in all glory in front of the great temples in Kerala, and they wear a golden kind of a decoration uh, on their head. Nothing actually happens to the elephant. It looks very nice, but the elephant doesn't care, nor does it affect the impact of the elephant or its behavior. Nothing. It simply sits there, and it looks good. That's it. So on top of a syllabus, you could do the same thing. You could write 5 or 6 outcomes. They will simply sit there. It looks nice, and that's it. It will do nothing to the classroom curricular transaction. It will do nothing to the examinations. So if we are really serious, we must understand writing outcomes is a very, very challenging task. But then I now connect to AI because you have put AI into this whole discussion. AI comes to great help. You put a you put your course syllabus into the generative AI text generation modules and say, please write 10 outcomes for me and make sure that you have an equal distribution on the Bloom's taxonomical levels. Then I have experimented and I have found that these softwares excellently give you some suggestions. But I would warn my young teachers not to really rely on that, but take that as a suggestion itself, as a prompt, and use your teaching mind to really finalize it yourself. I would say that it would be a pity if teachers don't write outcomes. Well, we are talking about the core of the educational process. If we are defining or designing the core of the educational process, if we leave it to a machine, what is the whole idea? What is the whole fun? So I would suggest when AI comes, is the ceremonial outcomes, whether human beings write or whether AI writes, does not make any impact at all. But if we go to course level outcomes, sorry, module level outcomes, whether with help of AI or not, but finally finalized by the teaching mind, this is going to impact our education. I have no doubt about it. But this is hard work. I wrote 1,500, 1,200 outcomes for the MSc programs altogether. 1,200 outcomes. It can still be improved. And then to ensure that these outcomes also cater to different levels of Bloom's taxonomy is a real tough job. The policymakers, the so-called leaders of the education system, they just want to claim that the syllabus has been made outcome based. And the NACs also would look at these documents. To cut the story short, I would like to say whether excellent a class is excellent, whether a quality education goes on in a class is something that is not verifiable with documents. We have to take people into trust. When I go into a classroom, I know whether it is excellent or not. But sometimes I may not reveal, but I know very well. The whole idea of uh, educational institutions being branded for 5 years, 7 years as A plus plus is a very dangerous thing. It is just like you go to a doctor and have all your tests done, and then the doctor says you are healthy for the next 7 years. That would be something that would be very dangerous to do. So we must understand those are a kind of unavoidable things in a system which are there, which will sit there, which won't go away. But to start trusting those systems as the measure of excellence or quality would be a very dangerous thing. I would, as a teacher, I would say in a A plus plus institution, there could be a C plus plus lecture going on, and there could be a C plus plus graded institution where an A plus plus lecture would be going on, or class would be going on, an experiment would be going on. So let us try to bifurcate this. These are some formalities which we need to do, which are these accreditation ranking processes. Let us not start believing that they actually define. Once you get A plus plus, whatever you do in the universities of A plus plus quality, nothing could be farther from. There must be a teachers must have a divine discontent about what they do. You're never happy. You find there are ways to improve. There are things to improve. We must constantly be energized by this divine discontent, not by this kind of marketing of your A plus plus grades and NARF ranks. This is what I would like to say. This is a round table. I don't think I need to go make a very long speech. I place my points before the my fellow speakers, and I call it a day. Thank you.